Back to another stream. Last time we finished up our complete processor for the most part, including the page that does create initial requests for generating these IDs. Again, this is a trivial problem that we just wanted to make an example of to show how these are basically the building blocks of a processor. However, most likely creating a UUID or a kind of an ID, unique ID, is not going to be something that involves an entire processor. These usually would be things like requests for payment or something like that. But yesterday we got through all of the implementation of this. I think we have a little bit of testing to finish for this part, one of these parts. So let's just take a look at the tests. I'm going to move this over to a separate split right here so that it just re-renders that. So we'll close this one here. Close this one here and move this over. Get rid of our shapes, collapse these layers, put that here. Scroll over to where we have our spec. Our spec is here. So let's quickly double check our work. This would be our slice for a conference URL request. I think we're missing that name, but that is a happy path, which is fine. I guess I could copy this label and paste it here. So that is our happy path. And of course, we don't really have a lot to say about this one. It's fairly easy. And like I said, the smaller amount of tests, like we have 2 tests here, really, that we're going to have. Maybe we didn't finish writing these down. Unique. Yeah, and so then we have that. And yeah, I think we wanted to add one more test. To show that if we do put this in, then we get another one here. And that's kind of how it goes. I think this is it for the testing here. I think that's the last part that was kind of outstanding on our spec. And we can also add further tests description here, where basically have the same thing as on this side. These labels in the storyline here are exactly second request behaves as if no other previous requests existed. Conf ID was provided. So to explain a little bit of this, that we can do multiple of these things in our system, and that should work. So now let's zoom in and see if on our request conference ID we do have that in our tests. Generate unique ID is this test. We have request unique ID, and this is the set of tests. So we have the first 2 there. We have these this caught error. So we want to see run with expected error as a way that we wrap our tests. One thing that we wanted to make sure that we do have is in our test runner, I want to make sure that this is already not in the history. So, you know, we could say run test with running test with this history and see what that does. But if we go to the test runner, we notice that as we go through here, so I think the last problem, if we don't have an event, sorry, if there is an event, then we push this to the event stream, which, you know, I think there's a problem here because, oh no, we do have remove last. Okay, so that's good because on these rows, this event is really what will be used in the assert, the last event that we built up. So we always build up all the events, and what actually gets pushed into the history of a command handler is all of the events up to, but not including the last event. This last event is used as the assert condition. It's actually testing whether this command puts this event out, or this command throws this error, or this command makes this event. So this is a good example because this one here, the preconditions are the history, which should be all of this, excluding the this exception, obviously. And then when we process the command along with this history, then our result is this event. So this is the one thing that's interesting here, is that we're always doing this event history with the removal of last. I'd like to bump this logic out of here. I'd just like to have the relevant history actually made for us in. So before we do anything, let's make sure that our tests run, and we'll make this improvement. Okay, so I don't like the way that this test runner forces us to manipulate this history in our test. And I did that, unfortunately, as a will do later modification improvement, and I think today is that day. So let's now do that. So I want to run these. So node app tests, and they all run. They're quite fast. So now let's take a look at how we can. So if I take this remove last wrapper, we should have a failure. Okay, but we want this syntax. Okay. So now if I run these, we do have this failure, which is to be expected. It's interesting that a lot of these here are not failing, but this one is. I have to double check that. Why are these generate unique ID things not failing? Let's see why that is. We have run with exception, provide unique. This because it has this, right? So we have to get rid of this as well here. Of course, that's why it would not fail. So now we should have the same failure here. I'm just looking at all the places where we have a slice, which is a state change with an SC at the end. So this is state view. And then, of course, this testing slice should be state SC, right? And same here, this timeline's, this should be SV. We should rename these test slices to match what's in the code. Again, if you're a student of behavior-driven development, we should really be replacing, the underscores with spaces and capitalizing so it reads like a sentence all that kind of stuff. We could probably give this a makeover after we get everything working. That way it would be kind of fun to use. So, okay, we don't need that. Let's now fix the test runner. Sorry, did I see that it actually failed here? Yes, it did. So we have a failure here. This one's still not failing. Hold on a second. Why is this one not failing? So we have the, oh yeah, it is failing. Okay. So this one's failing because we have the malformed history now. In fact, shouldn't a lot of these fail? Okay, no, these are okay, so the ones that throw are still throwing because I think their history is correct for some reason, or it doesn't matter. So let's just see. I'm just checking for deliveries at the door. Okay, nothing there. All right. So let's take a look at that implementation of our test runner. So essentially what we want to do is if we are testing a command with no error, then yeah, the only time that we don't want to include the last event in the history is if the checkpoint has a command and an event. So checkpoint event and checkpoint I don't want it to write anything for me. And then checkpoint dot command. So this should return true. If that's true, then we want to do the history. ACC. So we want the history, the whole history. Otherwise, we want a what is that? So that was a strip thing here, wasn't there? Remove last. That's it. I think that's all we need. So this is important because yeah, in the asserts we'll be using the event of the checkpoint, which is also put into the history stream. We don't want to have to push that into individual things. So this harness should give proper history for each of these. There might be a nicer way to do this, but I'm glad that it's actually just sitting here as one conditional to remove that extra event from the history. Otherwise, don't bother removing one because you're doing a state view, and then checkpoint exists for either. So there we can get what we expect from each type. Okay, so I think that should fix it. Let's test that theory and run the test. So we have these two things that didn't have the history set up correctly. Where's my cursor? Oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, we have these two here. So this didn't have the proper history and this didn't have the proper history, but now we do. We've bumped that responsibility up. And yes, so now they pass. So let's commit that. That's kind of important. Oops. Yeah, I think we have only one. So git commit test runner now adjusts the history for command tests with no assertions. You know what's interesting is with no assertions. Okay, so things work. I'm not 100% sure that we have everything covered yet, though. I'm just worried that we don't have oh, actually, that's okay. So we did take care of that. So one of the things I was second guessing myself on, okay, if we are doing an exception test, we won't do this because there is no event defined. We have an exception here. This is not an event. The red here, this would be a missing piece in the testing. So notice that we have an exception instead of an event. So an event is not defined, and therefore we will not remove the last event. If we did by accident, then we would have removed part of the precondition, and that wouldn't have worked. So it's important to check both of these things, that both the event and command are present, so that we strip that out. Now, there is even a cleaner way to do this. Because this checkpoint is really wrapping two things. So I have a permutation of three kinds of tests here. And I don't know if there's a better convention for this, but so we have a convention for, this is a good example here. We have a convention for what we send to a test of a state view, which is all of the previous events, which are these, and then we test that this works. For command, we have these, history of these events. When this is run, then this is asserted. But we also have this, where we have this history of events. And then we test this command and we get this exception thrown. So I have three types of test calls. And maybe it would be better to have a way to call this out. In other words, I don't like that we have to worry about the idea of a checkpoint in our test runners. This is the next thing that's irritating me here. I would like to have, if there's an exception in a command, I would like this to take the event history and the exception, the command and the exception. So that's kind of the way that I would like to have these signatures done. So I would not have to gouge out of here checkpoint.command and checkpoint.exception. I don't really want to litter my tests with this extra syntax. So and then again, of course, we do have this idea that, you know, our testing framework is opinionated, so our signatures for tests are specific, right? So we have event history and a checkpoint here. In fact, that's the thing that we're throwing away, is this idea that we have a checkpoint, right, for every type of test. And even in these, we have, but here we have state, right? So this is a part where we don't even need anything, because this is a problem, right? This is not, we're not really using the state that's being tested for here. We're explicitly addressing the length of this here. This is more of now just a notation. We should be using the state. So I think this is from the previous one. So we need to actually use this. This is a problem. So state to-dos should be that. So result length should be state dot to-dos. This way we're actually using what's in there, dot length, right? That's the way things should work. So let's just see if that works. And it doesn't. Cannot read properties, defined length. Oh, because no, we have that here. So there's a problem with how we pass that in, because now I think this state is really a checkpoint. So I think this works like this, and I don't like that. I think this is how. No, checkpoint is not defined because, yeah, it's state, because that's actually, unfortunately. Okay, so yeah, we do want to rip this apart a bit. Yeah, now it works. But we want to remove this redundant thing to do this correctly. So let's just do open heart surgery on this runner, because I really do want 3 types of testing being done. So a state view test will have this syntax here, where we have these givens, and then this test here. This is the then part. And here we have a regular test on the command side and a test that has an exception. Again, these cannot throw exceptions. State views always need to deal with whatever they're given. They don't throw. They don't have a choice. They're looking at facts. There is no way to error when looking at facts. So this will require really an if part. And I want to get rid of some of these after as well. I don't like all these logging things here. But this is the part we're going to be rewriting right now. So basically we say if, and then we look at this. Checking, running command, state view, state change, test. Okay, so that's what that's going to be. And here we do, and actually this is where this belongs. This is where we have the checkpoint test. This is where we do remove the last bit of the history. And instead of the checkpoint, we have the checkpoint.command. And that's it. that means our tests are going to yeah, we need to ignore this last event. We have the command, and we need to test against the act.events. Oh no, checkpoint.event. In fact, this idea that we're pushing the event to the history could be done after the test. But actually, I don't like that because I don't want any logic here to potentially fail and we don't push this event to our stack, which would not be good. And I would have to have try catches into some of these things to take care of that. So I still want to have this remove last. Kind of, maybe I don't. I don't know. Maybe we do have, yeah, maybe we do have a way to not have this running at all. Because the history is correct for this up until here. So let's just be brave and look at the whole history. And do the checkpoint command and the checkpoint event as the then. So this actually is good because we're testing the given when then. So this is good. Given when then. Given when then. Okay, so this is better. I think I like this this new idea of how we're going to do this. So now we have given when then structure. And what's the next part? Else if. And this time if we have the checkpoint dot event and we have checkpoint dot actually no, not this. We have not an event, but we have an exception and a command. That means we're running an exception test, command exception test. Okay, that's what we're doing here. And in this case, we do checkpoint dot test given the event stream when a command, then an exception. So now we have given when then again. Yes. Else we have an event stream with the state given then, and this is running a state view test. Okay. So now we could collapse these. We notice that we have a command in each. And we're only testing on this. So we could collapse this to checkpoint exception. And here we can do the question mark. Where's my question mark? If we have an exception, then we do checkpoint dot exception. Otherwise, we do checkpoint event, and that's given when then. And after this, we do the accumulator event stream push. So we don't need that up here anymore. And that took care of this. So our if else really is looking at whether we're doing running a state change test, else running a state view test. And what we have here is, can we name these? Is that, what's the syntax? Can we name parameters in JavaScript? I guess. Okay, that makes it really clear. Okay, I'm glad that we could do that. So we have a, I would like to capitalize these actually, because that's very nice to read. Okay. So I don't know, I don't need to say running a, so we just do state change test. State view test. And here we don't need this given when then, because it's quite apparent that it's that. Okay, so now I expect things to fail, because we just did open heart surgery on this, but we will fix it. Okay, so yes, everything is failing because, well, some things aren't, which is interesting. Yeah, so we have array issues, etc. Of course, there's undefined stuff everywhere, because we've gotten rid of the need to basically say, you know, given when then, and so now we don't need to have the idea of a checkpoint inside the test runner, even though we know that this collection is a test runner. We now, let's start with the bottom one here. Did the last one fail? Let's go bottom up. Yeah, the last one failed here, right? So let's fix this. So now our signature is much nicer. We have run with expected error. And we're running this. Now we have event history. Now we don't have to have a checkpoint. Now we can have, so we have a given when then. Let's see, sorry, let's go back to our test runner. Test. So we have the stream, the command, which is interesting. Right, so so this would be the command. And instead of checkpoint, this is the command. And here we have the exception. So now we have exception here. That works. Last cut error equals exception, but through cut error, yeah. If it's not, here again, should throw exception, but didn't throw. So given when then. So do we do the when here? Run with exception. We have event history and command. So this run with exception is doing the command handler, unfiltered events, and the command. Yeah, I think we don't need that because it's throwing and returning that. So we're command handler events, and I don't need unfiltered events. I just need events. And the command and new event and command handler. Yep. And where's the events? Oh, it's not unfiltered events. We do events here. That's good. So, yep. Again, we're expecting a throw, so we can just get rid of the catching of whatever return it's supposed to give. So that should be, okay. So now we don't need this either, because we are now handling this appropriately, where we're looking at whether, you know, are we doing given when then. This is still a little yucky. Just a little yucky, given when then, and we have to flip on the exception. So maybe there's a nicer way to do this, but for now, state view tests. I like it. I think there may be some more convention to bake into here to make this, maybe not this, but really the repetitive code that we run here to be more guided. I don't know if there's some, I don't want to get too far in the weeds of a specific syntax. I mean, we're already kind of bending some of these things that JavaScript provides, like naming these parameters. So, you know, we can do given Is that what we do? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm scared to touch this part. Let's see if this runs. Nope, that's still not working. So the last one had an error of cannot read properties undefined conf ID. Well, that's interesting. Generate unique ID SC in slice unique ID. Okay, so we still have a few things that are, maybe did I chew off too much here at once? So we are doing this given when then. This hasn't changed. We do have, yeah, this is the then. So we are testing this with, why is it giving me a problem with the command handler? Okay, so this provide unique ID as an issue. Event history and the command. Okay, I expected that to okay, so some of these are passing. So let's see if we can let's see if we can make this second one pass here. Can we make this one pass? where we have the event history, and instead of the checkpoint, we have the command. And so and then event. So we have that. And so then event should be this. Should be this. Should be this. And then this should be this. Result conf ID. Okay. So should this at least pass? No, it's still causing us grief. What did that one reference? Checkpoint is not defined. So okay, so we're still using a checkpoint. So here it is, command. Okay, good. So I think this one should work. No, it still doesn't. Cannot read properties undefined. Reading command. Conf ID request. No conf ID request found. So we're having an issue with our history. Oh, I think I know why. Okay. So this is why we didn't do this this part here. So when we're doing state view tests, we push this here. Oh, we do have a problem. We have to have this as a separate. We have to have 3 cases, unfortunately, which might be a better way to do this. This is what we need to do. So yeah, this manipulation of the history, adding this beforehand. Yeah, this is clumsy and can be changed to be something that's a little bit structured a little bit better. But we definitely have 3 types of things. So we have a state change test. Test. Testing success. Testing failure. Exception. And actually, I want an else if. We want that checkpoint exception. We want an else bad test, bad checkpoint structure. Perfect. That's exactly right. That's exactly what we want. And here, else if checkpoint state else that is perfect. So if we're doing so the only time that we have to put add the history, increase the history after the test is when we're doing an exception. No, when we're doing this. So we have the stream, which is all the stuff before we get to the command slice. Then we do the command. And then we only have the checkpoint. Oh, this is bad. Exception, exception. No wonder that didn't work. This is event. Oh, sorry, that was fine. But this is now the correct form. In testing the exception, we need to load up. We don't need to do anything because we don't actually have an event. So actually we don't need to do that. Because there is no event where there's an exception. We don't write an event to the stream when there's an exception. And when we're in a state view, we need to have our full history, because when we're here and we're testing what this is, it's taking as a pre-condition everything that's here. So we could change the convention so we wouldn't have this awkward manipulation here. If we said that we test this with all of these things, and it doesn't really do the, all it's doing is doing the asserts on here. It's not reading the current state. So in other words, in order to make this less clumsy in the test runner, we'd have to shove all of these down one. And the convention would be to look at the previous history to see what's going on. And that might actually be better, because then we have the same convention for both. So we always look at previous rows for history to test what we have. I think I'm good with that, because now we have a convention that can be read this way here, the same way. So, you know, this changes stuff a little bit. For example, how do we, actually, it's not bad. Yeah, because if we want to have a non-empty history, okay, so I think I like this. See, aren't we glad that we didn't write any chapters on event modeling yet? Because this stuff is crucial. I think this is going to make, you know, give incredibly good guidance for people automating this in a predictable way. So let's do this open heart surgery on this, and just improve it. I knew this was the first of a series of steps. Oh, geez, that looks awful. Okay, so yeah, I think, and I think we already had kind of a confusion in the forums about this structure. Oops. So I'd like to have this finished by the weekend, that we want this, because the word history does make sense. It would be whatever's in the previous row of the timeline. So if you're critical of what we came up with last time, or maybe what I came up with last time, you were right. This is not, yeah, this was not the ideal way of doing this. And now I think we are better for it. And all right. Not having fun with removing this whole thing here. Why is it selecting my arrows? I guess it's because it's the points. Yeah, so as long as I don't get the points. All right, that's good enough. Somehow that didn't get moved. Now we will move it. That can get moved down. Actually, it moves up. This moves up. I think it was, no, I think it's fine. Second request. Okay, so you know, how do we read these now, right? This means I have no history. I have no previous things. So by default, it looks like this. Here, I have this in my history, previous rows and higher. Okay, I like this a lot. I think that might be quite good. So we have a bit of code to change, because anytime that we have a state view, our state changes already behave this way. So all we need to do is change our state views, which is, I think, going to be a pain. A little bit. It's going to be a pain because in order to actually, it's not going to be that bad. I basically have to take this and just blast away the top one. So control copy and paste that here. Okay. Here, take this, copy, and paste that here. So I'm rolling things up. Thank goodness for source control, huh? Here is an interesting one because I have nothing there, but it still should hold. I should copy this and paste that here. Every time something feels clunky, stop and fix it, right? We're coming to a better understanding of all of this. I'm just going to start to do this. And yeah, so time to make sure. Okay, good. So we did that, and now we do this. And we move to this here. And now as the last one that we have, we really don't need one here. So I'll be brave and I'm going to delete it. And we got our first timeline that should work if we change our testing. So we should see some green if we do this gutting. In other words, we only add when we're done testing. This is the point at which we add to the history for the next slice. We do not do anything here. However, we have given the event stream, which we do have accumulated from previous steps. When we have a command, then the checkpoint is the current event. Yes. If we have an exception, then we do that. Yes. The state view should be the entire stream so far, because that's from previous steps. Because we moved things down, then we do the state check. Okay, so this should have some things still working. Yes. We do have that first slice working. So now we have However, we don't have these two working. So we have a slight problem. I think, oh, I think I know what it is. We should still check if we have an event. I think that's what was missing, because we don't want to put non-event things onto the stack or nulls onto the stack, right? Surprisingly, our implementations are resilient to nulls, so we have another problem. But of course, since we have an ability to take in exceptions, and of course our checkpoints can just be labels, yeah, we have to double check that we're not short-circuiting here anywhere. If we don't have a test, we're returning too soon. This is the other problem, because we can have an event with nothing to test. So I don't want to have this here. So if we have a command, we assume that we have a test. We don't need to do this. Our ifs will yeah, we should get rid of this. And if it doesn't have that, but it has a test, so if it didn't have a command or a state, but it has a test, because yeah, so this assumes, so if we have a checkpoint command or we have a checkpoint state, we assume that there's a test. So can we be more forgiving? Actually, no, we can't throw here, because this will be things like progress markers. A progress marker is fine. So it's definitely checkpoints that don't have a, and maybe that's where we test. So that's our convention. And so we actually don't need that. Else clause at all. You just ignore it. But we do want to catch something where we have a command, but in there we don't have an exception, an event or an exception. You have one or the other. And in fact, we should guard, we shouldn't have an event and an exception in one. And checkpoint exception. And we should have not. Because it's one or the other. And I'm wondering if there's another better, there could be a result, and that result would be an event or an exception type. So, I think we can keep further refining this convention here. Yeah. Command / exception. No, event / exception. Right? That's the results that we're getting. So I think I like this better. We definitely fall through to make sure we build up our history. If we do have an event, we keep adding this event to this event stream, and it's called event stream, right? So we interchangeably use history and event stream, which is okay for now. But I think that okay, we got problems. We got serious problems now. What is going on here? Do we have... We really don't need this. We don't need to throw anything. So I don't know why this has an issue. And the test pass thing is really not correct because okay, that's what's throwing it. Because we do need a guard condition on... can we do a go-to statement? This would be awesome. No, exit. Can I do it? No, I don't want to. I guess I have to put this in the big... I didn't want to put another if statement in here. I like to short circuit stuff, but we're already deep into the test loops, the loops of the collections, and now we have these conditionals, which is gross. I don't like this kind of stuff. You know, it'd be nicer to do this, to have some of these as really one-liners and one indent for a lot of this. I don't feel like breaking this out into functions, but I guess maybe we will. Yeah. Might be time if we're getting really gross here on this, but yeah, we definitely are. You know, we're not checking for the test thing here, so all the things like the markers, and the things with no tests are coming through here, and we have this test passed. We want to do this. How do we get out of this? I guess, I mean, this is really stupid, but it'll do the job. We want to not do that. We want to say doesn't equal undefined. Something is not right with the... I want this whole thing to be tried and catched. I say catched on purpose. We only do this stuff here if we have a test to run. And I do not like being indented to 8 levels on some of this. Is it 8 levels? Yeah. Really bad. 8 levels of indentation is not something that I'm liking here. But we're getting more green. Look at that. So let's try and fix this last test on here. And I think we can very quickly fix these initial tests. Because all we did was, for the state views, is roll things down 1. So let's fix the bottom one here. Test provide should throw but cannot read, probably this conf ID thing. I don't know what I did with that test. So let's see what we did here. Caught error provide caught error. So it's somewhere in this history checkpoint oh, okay, it's got a checkpoint command. So we actually have a command object now. That's the problem. Let's check the signatures. We changed the signature for all of these. Event history command. Event history command. Event history command. And then run with exception. I don't think that's that should be a pass-through. Run with exception. It has a command. Yeah, it's not doing anything, no unwrapping or anything like that. So I think we should have the last one passing. No, we don't. Checkpoint is not defined. Okay, so we're still referring to a checkpoint somewhere. Where is this checkpoint? Command, cutter, exception, cutter, exception, command. Okay, so, oh, it's up here. There's the one. That's the exception. Okay. I want to do this myself. No AI to throw me off. Event history command exception, command comma exception. That's what it is, exception. Okay. And yeah, so we just didn't update this signature. And yes, and we just run this to capture the error. This is our run with expected error, so we don't have the try catches polluting our test structure. And that should be, yeah, that works. Okay, so we fixed most of them. I think we just have these initial 2 slices, which are, yeah, they just need the new convention, so they should be easy to switch. I think we can start with. Do we have any slices here? Yeah, slice test. So the first 2 slices will be here, slice test. Okay, so let's fix this one. This is a state view, so it should be easy. So this undefined again becomes this event here. So we can copy that. We can get rid of the word checkpoint and use the word state as the parameter. I don't want to lose my groove of moving these events up 1. Just roll these up 1 by 1. And so now we roll this event up to the previous step. And again, we we take this next event and roll it up. Next one. And again, we roll this one up to the previous one. Now here we don't need to have these things explicitly put in. We can just do things that way. And again, we can roll this up. 1. Put this in. So open heart surgery finished. Here we don't need an event because it looks at the previous row. So the first kind of litmus test of our new way of working. Again, here, let's fix this checkpoint problem. Shouldn't have any checkpoint. We should have event here. I really don't like this event. I think event is a reserved word. I'm surprised it's working as well as it is for now. Here, the same thing. We don't want to have anything for state. Sorry, for checkpoint. And here we have state again. I would like to really use not event history, but events. I'm kind of wanting to use events here. I think that's better. We'll keep removing these here. What is it? Alt and grab? No. Forget what the weird selection is in. Oh, well, whatever. And that's it. And then events. Events. And here we have state. State. Okay. Same here. We don't have a checkpoint anymore. We have state. State. We have state. We have events. And we have events. And we have state. Okay. And here we have, again, looking at the state. Looking at the state. Looking at events here. So events here. Instead of checkpoint, we have state. So again, here, this one we already finished. So let's double check if this all works. And yes, we fixed that one slice. So the next slice is this. Next slice is this request new ID. I could probably fix that very quickly here. Request new ID. We got to fix this timeline name. Oh, I think we should just rename it request new ID, state change. So is this not working here? Yes, the second one with request unique ID state change is not working. Okay, and this is interesting because it's the first time we have to add something. We have to bump up, we have to introduce another checkpoint here because we don't have a place for our event to go. So we need this event to go up here. And in fact, we could just take that whole line. Interesting. And alt up that guy into here. Oops. Right, so that's good. We have that where it's supposed to be. Now, actually, no, that doesn't work. This is the only time where we don't do this. Because this event is no, actually we do that. Control Y. Oops. Now I screwed that up. We do need this because we're always looking at the previous line for previous history. And so where's our graph for this? This is our simple thing here, right? So I think this does work already. Actually, it, yes. Yes, it does, because we are checking that this is our assertion. We just don't have this running properly. So I think the only thing that we need to check in this case is this, and then we need this as event. And then we want events here. And we want the type of the event is to match the type that's expected. And again, we have this here. So this part should work because I think we have this. No, it doesn't. Why does it not work? Request unique command event? No. Where's this word command? Okay, that's type command. Oh, I see. We have a problem. Command, comma, event, request unique ID, comma, command. And so request unique ID is up here. And we have a command, which we don't use because we don't have anything in here. We're just looking at, in fact, there should, anyway, that's something we'll come back to. It's interesting. We've never really dealt with purely empty commands before, where they're just markers. So that's something that we should address at some point. But how is this running now? We'd have a command. We have this, it wants to send a command. The testing framework wants to use given, when, then. So we need to respect that. This result should capture the event. So did that change match what we have? Yes, it did. So good. So we have this passing now. Let's see if the next one works. And we just started writing this. So to be fair to ourselves, we just started implementing this particular set of slice tests. And we started to question whether our convention was good enough. And I think we got it to be better in this session. So I think as soon as we get this running, I'm going to leave you with that thought. And so on the Discord channel and other places, I want you to tell me what you think, if this convention is now making more sense in terms of um, how we're handling the bootstrapping of the tests or the convention for the unit tests. Because now we have, well, let's do this exception test. So now we have events. I think the AI will be a lot happier too with this, right? Because now we have command. Exception. Okay. So we now have this ability to have something that makes a lot more sense. We don't have this level of indirection to inspect the checkpoints, which didn't feel quite right. Let's just see if this works. Did we accomplish what we needed? Yes, all green. Okay, so we have implemented a better convention for our test runner, and we have a much cleaner convention for the actual tests. And let's finish this quickly here so that we can run the other tests on it. I think that's all we need to do. This is pretty scary that it knows what to do here, because we have this, we have event and exception. We really didn't need this, did we? Let's get rid of this for now. And let's just run this again. Double check that we have everything green. Yeah, because I had that empty space there. That's our output. We got to clean up the output as well. I have too many of these console logs I want to clean up at some point. Wrap them in something. We can flip a switch to get them back on if we need to, but I think we're getting to be way more proficient at this running unit tests here. So, okay, so this works quite well. We need to now do this scary thing of, you know, what exactly did this do? Did it actually predict after this exception unique? No, it didn't get it. Or did it? It didn't. Okay, we need just an event conf ID provided. So we need to get rid of all of this and pretend we're writing a new one. Escape. Yes, that's all we want. And we don't want anything else. And then the next one, so we took care of that, what I highlighted here. Now we're moving on to this one. It would be interesting if we write a plugin for Cursor that would actually show, like, pay attention to what I have highlighted there and go into the XML and find the context to actually do this. Now we have unique requested event, yes, and the command is request, yes. And we have events command, so given when then. Can we do given? I want to play with this. Actually, can we just rename this to given? Because it's given events. You know, I'm not going to change it. Like, give me your thoughts about how this convention could be made more explicit about what we're doing, especially since we're doing, given when then's, arranged act assert, whatever you want to call. And is this the correct thing here? Yeah, I think that's good enough. I think that tests everything. So we have 3 tests. 1, 2, 3 tests. So yeah, we have 1, 2, 3 tests. One of them is an exception. The second one is the exception. Yeah, we have this exception tested here. And let's see if we have everything. Everything does work. Okay, so I think we're complete on implementing that feature. We did make tremendous progress on the convention, and to review quickly, what we have done is we've switched for the convention for history to always look at the previous rows. So even in the state view tests, we are always looking at previous rows for history to test what we have currently. And that makes it work with the way that we test commands. The given is always the previous rows. The then is the current row. And in here we can collapse, well, it collapses on itself quite well, because when we're testing this state view with all previous rows of what happened. So now the word history actually has better meaning because it means previous rows, whereas I think before the convention was a little confusing. Having what we're testing line up to the current one wasn't the best. I think it's kind of how we think about it in the implementation. So there's a reason that we went down that direction, but really the more honest way of looking at it is that we want to look at things that happened in the past to see what the current view is. If the current timestamp is actually putting in a new event, eventual consistency would dictate that we would not have that reflected in our state view immediately anyway. So there's a couple of ways to rationalize this kind of convention now that we're adopting here. Gosh, I really have to push these around. So this is still not organized. So I know Manuel in Spain was very eager to help with these. So he fixed a lot of my stuff before, I think, in this model. So yeah, if you want to clean this up, I will do it tomorrow, hopefully. But it's really nice to be able to push this up with a new convention. This test runner just is structured way, way better. I don't still like the deep nesting that we have, but we do have a stage change test. We have given when then, that's quite explicit. Given then for state view tests. We know that if we're on a command and we have an exception, we're testing for an exception. If we're on a checkpoint with a command and we have an exception and not an event, yeah, we're doing that. And if for a checkpoint we have a state, then we do that. That's perfect. I think it's really good. I think anything like a test not a test not being defined is going to get caught here, and we'll have the proper failure, so that's good. And then this convention makes it very easy to say, okay, now that we're done with this checkpoint, let's just push an event to our event stream. And we might not even call it event stream. Let's just keep calling it events, because that's our event stream. So I like this convention here. This is the last thing I'm going to do, and I got to go because I got to head out before it gets too late. That's that. That's that. And events, checkpoint, event, push. Yeah, I think that is the only place where we have event stream. a quick test to see if we do. Oh no, we don't. Something with the push here. Events. Checkpoint. Events. There we go. Events. One last thing here. There we go. That should be the last one. Yep. And double check that everything works. Yep. So yeah, we do have a better test runner now. I think, again, these ugly console logs, I want to find some better helper functions and conventions to make this test, this harness a little bit clearer, especially since this is used as a learning tool to learn all this stuff. Given, when, then. I guess we could have them on separate. I think people are used to seeing given, when, then in a row. So this is checkpoint test, and you know that reads a lot better. Let's do it that way. Again, readability for, I mean, we will rarely look at this code. This is our test runner. But if someone wants to learn, you know, why these conventions in event modeling are adopted and how they translate to something very simple in terms of, you know, what we do here, they'll be able to see this. Yeah, I think also, I think this deserves a screenshot, and we kind of want to talk about it more online, on LinkedIn and other places. So let me do a screenshot here of kind of the convention that now matches, you know, how we specify. It would be nice to actually have some of the tests passing here at the bottom. So I think that's a nice nice way to kind of end on that note, because we got to something that's quite nice and usable. So let me know in the comments what you think. Oh, I missed Yordis. Yordis, sorry, I got so into this. I wanted to get through all the code. Didn't notice your comments there. eBay like auction, I'm not sure. Control price of an item. Oh, I can barely hear you. Okay, so I had some issues with the output volume, I guess, on this. I had clipping on the microphone layer, but I think maybe the OBS output is bad. Thanks for that, Yurdis. I did notice that I was actually a little quiet, so audio is there. I'm just looking at the settings here. Stream, no, output, audio, streaming, encoders. Well, that's gonna have to be solved another time. Sorry about the audio being low. I will try and address that. Yeah, there's not. I'm not seeing on OBS where that control for the output audio is. So I have the mic in, I have the audio mixer, or maybe that's desktop audio. Lock volume, advanced audio properties. Mic, I have that volume percentage. Okay, that's all 100%. So yeah, Yurdis, how's the level now on YouTube? Is it still too low? I did notice that other YouTube channels, the voices were much louder, and if I turn up the gain on this mic, I get clips. So I'm gonna just turn this up to, something like this and see, is it clipping? Now I've turned up the gain on the mic, but am I blasting people's ears now? I don't know. I have to double check. So I guess Yurtis, you're already gone. It's much better, but am I clipping? Like, is my voice clipping at the top range? You sure? I mean, I've looked at other YouTube channels, and the complaint for me was that I sounded with, like, at the top of my voice, it was getting fuzzy, meaning the microphone was clipping. So I guess I'll leave it at this and check online later how the end of the stream actually sounds, and compared to other YouTube streams, whether it makes sense, or if I have to, I don't know, find some other setting in OBS where it's, getting a better, like, I can actually see what level it's outputting at. But I definitely didn't want to have any clipping in the audio on the microphone level. So anyway, but I gotta run. I gotta do some shopping and get out there with the crazy. I don't know why I'm heading out on a Friday to shop, but anyway, see how the traffic is. But thanks, Yurtis, for doing that. Okay, I will hold on for another few minutes to test this out. But I hope you, Yurtis, I hope you enjoyed this last convention change. I think it makes things a lot easier to understand in this given Wenden syntax. And while you're searching for the settings for me, I'm also going to search for my settings here in this settings panel, which I will share with the audience. Where is it? Stream, output, audio, okay, bitrate, blah, blah, blah. That's nothing. That's none of this. For streaming, it has encoder stuff. It doesn't have any audio. For audio, I have desktop audio default. Doesn't have any volume settings here. Push to mute delay. Don't need any of that. Advanced. Yeah, I don't really see any audio thing. So I guess I'll have to just test my mic setup to see that I'm not clipping. No, I know the compressor. I have the compressor. Is that what people are using? They're they're using the compressor to make your normal voice at the top range of the output. I mean, I can do that, but I thought that would be kind of rude. Maybe that's what the other YouTubers are doing, is they're using compressor to make themselves super loud without clipping for everything they say. Yeah, I can say, okay, Yurtis, if you're saying that it's the compressor, then I know how to do that. Filters, compressor, I can turn it on. How is that? Ratio, release, attack, output gain 0. Is this helping at all? Yes, that is what they do, and also limited to not go red. Yeah, but the red in my case was really about the microphone itself clipping, because I turned the gain up too much. So I'm going to leave the compressor on, see what happens for the next stream. But is it better now, Yurtis? Am I clipping? Am I loud enough? Comparing my output now. Okay, thanks, man. That's really helpful, because I was kind of playing with, like, do I bother with the compressor? And I said, well, I'll just leave my voice natural. And it seems like everyone's used to getting blasted by other YouTubers that I sound quiet in comparison. So if you like this voice and there's no clipping, I see that it's actually the compressor is limiting from me going into the red. You're right. So I have to really understand a little bit more about when the signal is getting processed, what the mic clipping actually means and all that. So what do I need to do? I can hear you. Oh, if I say something very, very loud, is this clipping? I know that it's not hitting the red. The compressor's doing its thing, but I'm just wondering this threshold on the mic. I mean, it's a good Rode mic. And so anyway, we'll see. we're boring people with this now. I think we took away from the conversation about the awesome, fantastic new testing convention that we have. And I got to commit this stuff. All right, man. I appreciate it. I'm going to keep things. I don't know if I can. Actually, I'll just experiment now. I'm going to crank up the gain on the actual mic to be 100%. Okay, am I clipping now? How is this? This is too much, right? This gain is way too much. I got to tone it down. 65. I think that might be okay. 65 is good. I'm still not in the red as I'm talking. 80. 80 is getting... If I really yell... Okay, that's too much. 80 is probably too much. What? Nope. I'm not clipping? Was that all good? If I go to 100... This is 100% gain on my mic. Is this still okay? That is too much. Okay. Okay. This... how about this? Let's go to 80. How's 80? This is 80% with the compressor and my mouth kind of, I guess, 3 inches away from the mic, talking normally. It is out of sync. 80 sounds good. Okay. Thanks, man. Okay, I'll keep it on 80. I'll keep the compressor on. And I think the other problem is when I'm recording the podcasts, it's not through OBS, it's through Riverside. And there it has its own things. So that's why I've been kind of moving the gain around depending on what I'm doing. And then, of course, you have the other things such as a call on Google Meet with someone and all over the place, right? All right. Well, I thank you so much. I will get to your question. Oh, you pasted it again. Sorry to spam here. eBay-like auction, but I'm not sure about performance of how to control the price of the item. Is increasing every time somebody bid on. Try to read the stream backward until the last bidded event has been. Yeah, so I think we discussed this last time. I think there's an idea of carrying forward a balance and using events more like a ledger to not have to go back far enough. Hey, let's do a stream on this tomorrow and do some code to test this. You want to do that? Okay, too loud, right? 70. Okay, thanks, man. See? Now I'm getting good feedback. All right, so I gotta charge my watch. I didn't charge it in a few days again. Okay. So yeah, Yurtis, let's do a bit of a live stream. Maybe we can event model some of the interactions that we have with this auction bid thing and dissect what happens at the milliseconds to kind of ensure that we have a system that, you know, works to your liking. And yeah, meanwhile, let's just see what we did. We did a lot of things. So if we do a get status, we only have one thing, but if we do a get diff, we'll see a ton of rewrites, right? So we've changed so much of this is the test runner here, and then of course we had to push change all the tests for the signatures. We had to bump up all the events so that we are looking at the previous rows for history. And yeah, ping me tomorrow, Yurtis. Let's do this. That sounds like a good, fun stream to do. We want to do it on the stream so that others can look at it, and you want to show off Elixir, I'm sure. Maybe try and teach me Elixir again. Might be easier with more AI involved to help poor old Adam learn a new syntax. Getting old for this, man. Okay, so let's add this. I don't need this whole thing to be this gigantic. So git add everything, git commit, and we want to say that new test harness for timelines state views now consider previous rows as history. GWT and GW signatures followed for test functions. That looks good. Okay, if you want to look at that, that's fine. I also have to, did I save this? I think I did. Let's go to our design. Uh-oh, where are we? Why am I in the same thing? Oh, because I rebooted. I wish that Fish Shell remembered where I was. Changed the alignment in GWs for state views. All right, so yeah, if you want to look at that stuff, that's all in there. Yeah. So yeah, more streams tomorrow, probably with Yurtis. I'll jump on and probably switch from my project to Yurtis's to go through this. But anyway, I hope you all like this this crazy syntax that we have now here, which is really fun. I think this given past events, when command then event is exactly what we were talking about, and it's nice to see the code kind of reflect that. And I'm kind of excited to actually see this kind of stuff now make its way into the literature. So yeah, the chapter for Martin's book about event modeling is going to have this convention in it. So definitely pick up the book. Again, if you want to get it on Amazon, this is what it looks like. It should be number 2 or number 1, depending on the week. On LeanPub, it's number 2 or number 1. Just look for event modeling or event sourcing, all one word in those cases, and you'll be able to find it. That book will have that chapter that I will finish, which includes these conventions. So if you get it on LeanPub, you'll get that chapter when it comes out. So, and I think I'm going to also have the newsletter. I've been meaning to finish an article for the newsletter. Martin's been doing an awesome job with them, but I want to have some of these things I've been talking about written down in, you know, a couple of pages worth of reading. So subscribe to the newsletter, and again, all links are on eventmodeling.org. And yeah, hopefully this makes sense to you. But anyway, until next time, thanks for joining me. We'll see you tomorrow. So bye everyone. Thanks.